Hey, what's up, guys? Houston here. Look, when you are looking for a credit builder loan, you have to be aware there's two types, okay? One is your actual unsecured cash credit builder loan, and then there's your secured cash credit builder loan. And I'm going to show you some of the easiest cash credit builder loans. Those are the ones that are unsecured. You can actually use the money, spend the money however you want to. Now, one of the things I would definitely tell you before you go apply for these loans, if you're working a job, make sure you hit up your HR department, okay? And you file the W-4, all right? Now, why? Is because with the W-4 form, they're going to stop taking federal income taxes out of your check, all right? Now, I always tell people the maximum amount of time to allow this to happen, you give yourself 3 to 4 months. So what happens when you put in the paperwork, it usually takes maybe 1 or 2 pay periods to kick in. Once those 1 or 2 pay periods kick in, then for the next 3 to 4 months, you bring that income in. And that may help you not have to take out these high interest rate loans. And yes, some of these loans are high interest rates. However, at the same time, when you need funding and you can't go to a relative or a friend or something like that, you got to do what you got to do. All right, and I respect that. Now, another thing you guys can do to help get caught up on your rent and utilities, as well as medical issues, maybe transportation, you can go to findhelp.org, findhelp.org. Go to findhelp.org, and they will be able to give you every program that's in your community. All you do is put in your zip code, okay? So those are the two things that I would do before I start applying for these loans. Now, the first lender we're talking about is Uprova. Now, here's the thing about it with Uprova. Uprova is a tribal lender, okay? Now, many of you all hear me explain about with tribal lenders, basically, they do not have to go by the same government guidelines as with banks and credit unions, okay? And so where your debt to income ratio with most banks and credit unions, usually 55%, with Uprova, those type of tribal lenders, they're focusing on if you have the availability to pay the loan back, okay? So usually their debt to income ratio may go 75%. Now, here's the thing about it. I tell you guys, most of the time, it's not about the credit score with a lot of these lenders, okay? So what it is that you may not income requirement, okay? You may not meet that income requirement, all right? And so what I'm telling you in terms of the income, like with Uprova, you should have an income of at least $1,000 after taxes, okay? That's on a monthly, all right? So that's how you would qualify with them. Also, just keep in mind that a lot of these lenders are not in all 50 states as well, okay? So that's another thing that you have to take into consideration. However, Uprova does go up to $5,000, all right? Now, the next one is Rise Credit. Now, again, Rise Credit, it's a tribal lender, all right? And so, again, when you're thinking about, are they going to do a hard pull on the credit and stuff? These here lenders are not looking at the major credit bureaus to do the hard pull. These are the type of lenders that are going to use the third-party credit bureaus like Teletrack, okay, which is owned by Equifax. They're going to use Clarity, which is owned by Experian. They may use DataX, which is owned by Equifax, or they may even use LexisNexis, all right? And that brings me to something else. A lot of people are still complaining, talking about, well, how is it a guarantee or whatever? The thing about it, like I said, they're not focusing on the credit score. Long as you meet the minimum requirements for its income. Also, one of the bigger things that challenges a lot of people is the actual information that's on the application. Do you have an active checking account? Is the address the same as the address that's with the third-party credit bureaus? Here's the thing about it that most people get wrong is with the third-party credit bureaus. They hold on to a lot of your old data, okay? And so by them holding on to a lot of your old data, you may have moved once or twice, right? And so when you put that application of your new address, so you move from apartment A over to apartment B. So you had stayed at apartment A for the past 2 years, but now you just moved to apartment B and you've been there only 6 months, and then you apply for this loan. Guess what address they're going to have on the file? They're more likely going to have an apartment A address because that's the longest address, okay? Like I said, it's usually not about the credit score they're focusing on. So you just have to keep that in mind. And yes, you can go to these third-party credit bureaus and get your real credit file and pull it, and you can update that information. It's very important that you update that information. Also, make sure that you have an active checking account with deposits in it. So in terms of, even if you're on disability, Social Security, you have to have an active checking account. Now, do some of these here creditors use Chime? Some of them do, some don't. But at the same time, you do have to have an active checking account. All right. Now, the next lender you're looking at is Credit Ninja. Credit Ninja, their loans go up to $5,000 as well. All right. So I would tell you like this: when it comes to income qualifying, make sure that the income that you have is at least $25,000 annually. Okay. Household income. All right. So that may not be just you, but at least you and your spouse, or you may be doing gig work. And yes, they will work with people that are in the gig economy. All right. So you may be doing Uber, Lyft, delivery type of driving and stuff. So they will work with them, but you just have to make sure you put down all of your income. All right. So that way they are aware that you have enough disposable income to be able to repay the payments. Now, another thing that plays a factor in terms of rent. Usually your rent is going to be between 15 to 20% of what your monthly annual income is. Okay. So that's how they determine if you are a good candidate, because if you're making $5,000 a month, all right, and then your rent is $3,500 a month, all right, so then your DTI is high from the rent aspect of it, okay? So those are the things you have to understand. So that's the reason I said when it comes to rent, the rent has to be around 15 to 20%. Just something so to help you guys out. All right. Now, the next one is Viva Loans. Now, Viva Loans is a platform. All right. And so with that type of platform, they go up to $15,000. All right. Now, again, making sure that the data that I just stated to you is on the credit file. Now, here's something else I would tell you. Sometimes when you already have multiple loans on the credit file, then, or you may have defaulted on loans in the past with these third-party lenders and stuff like that, that will also get you denied as well. All right. Now, with some of like your major lenders and things of that nature, let's just say you're going to third-party lenders like Universal Credit, Upstart, Upgrade, and stuff like that. They usually want you to have an age credit file, okay? And so the usual average age of the credit file, they usually want you to have at least 2 years of age on the credit file. That being said, let me tell you guys how to actually age your credit file so you are aware. And this is going to be most helpful because a lot of people, they may have an 800 credit score, but the credit file is too new. Or when you add on new accounts, certain accounts that you add on, if it's too new, it will reduce the age of your credit file. All right. So let me show you how to age your credit file. And that's by using authorized users. All right. So certain authorized users will help age the credit file. Also, for those of you that are paying rent. So like with Rent Reporter, that's a place where you can go and get your credit file aged. All right, that helps age the credit file. Also with utilities. Now, in terms of which utilities would help age the credit file, then you would need like My Score IQ, okay? Because they have a program for a few dollars extra that would actually report your utility bills, and it will help age the credit file as well. All right. So those are the things that you really need to understand about when you're trying to get access to loans and you want cash loans and stuff. Some of those factors is what you have to consider. And for most people, they do not take that into consideration. They'll just start applying. However, with you actually having real data points to understand what you may or may not qualify for, that's the reason you get denied. So again, yes, there are guaranteed approval loans, but you have to have the right data points in order to qualify. If you guys have any questions about business credit funding, personal credit funding, removing negative items off the credit, click the link in the description. Schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.